Good morning, everyone. I'm Congressman Greg Stanton. I'm here along with my colleague in Congress, Yassamin Ansari, Mayor Gallego, of course, and Diane Rodriguez from Arizona Federation of Government, American Federation of Government Employees, representing TSA agents. They'll all be saying a few words here this morning on day 3 of this government shutdown. So good morning to everyone. We are here at Sky Harbor because the federal government has shut down, and the public deserves clear, reliable information on exactly what that means. The shutdown affects federal workers, families, and travelers in Arizona, and it's our responsibility to explain what is happening and how you can plan around it. Let me start with the most important point. It is safe to fly here at Sky Harbor and around the United States of America. Air traffic controllers, FAA staff, TSA officers are still on the job. Flights are taking off and landing. Security screening is operating. But these professionals are working currently without pay, and that creates strain on the system and on their families. Here's what travelers need to know. Arrive early. We ask that you arrive at least 2 hours early for domestic flights, 3 hours for international. Check your flight status before leaving home. Airlines may adjust schedules if staffing pressures grow over time. If you need a passport or a visa, make your appointments now. Services continue because they are fee-funded, but that could slow if a shutdown continues. Make sure you have valid ID. State driver's licenses or real IDs are still being issued, and TSA will continue to enforce ID requirements. Plan for patience. The people serving you at the checkpoints and in towers are doing vital work under difficult conditions. We ask the public for your patience. Those are the steps every traveler should follow until the shutdown is resolved. We are here together, federal, state, and local officials, to make sure Arizonans get the facts, to minimize the disruption, and to stand with the workers keeping this airport running. Now let's talk about how we got here. After months of making life harder and more expensive for American families, Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are now inflicting a painful shutdown on the American people because they refuse to work with the Democrats to protect Americans' health care. Earlier this year, House Republicans passed the largest health care cuts the country has ever seen. The damage was immediate. Rural hospitals closing their doors, wait times growing longer, health care workers losing their jobs, and costs going up for families already struggling under the weight of Donald Trump's tariffs. And now, instead of fixing the crisis they created, House Republicans are forcing a government shutdown because they still won't protect Americans' health care. For months, we have warned them about this manufactured crisis. We said that if the Affordable Care Act subsidies expire, millions of Americans will see their health care become unaffordable or disappear entirely. Democrats are ready today, right now, to extend those subsidies, bring down costs, and protect coverage. Here's what makes this so infuriating. Washington Republicans, they control everything. They control the House of Representatives, they control the Senate, and of course, they control the White House. They created this crisis with their massive health care cuts, and they have the power to fix it today. But instead of coming to the table, MAGA is determined to let this shutdown drag on. And we saw it firsthand. Even though Speaker Johnson canceled votes last week, Congressman Ansari and I were there in Washington, ready to work, urging Republican leadership to come back to the table and negotiate. That's what the American people expect. We even tried to introduce our own counterproposal. The Speaker wouldn't even recognize us to speak. They gavelled out of session, shut off the microphones, turned off the lights, and walked out of the room. Now, to his credit, the only Republican in Washington who has agreed to meet is President Trump. But no one can make progress if Republicans won't even show up to the table. That choice has consequences: stress on aviation safety, financial strain on families, and growing uncertainty for businesses and our community. The American people deserve better. It's time to govern, not posture. It is time to reopen the government. While Arizonans wait for Republican leadership to do their jobs, Southern Arizona is also being denied its voice in Congress. On September 23rd, the people of Arizona, District 7, elected Adelita Grijalva in a special election. The results were clear and they were decisive. By precedent and procedure, she should have been sworn in right away. In fact, Speaker Johnson swore in 2 Republicans within 24 hours earlier this year under the exact same circumstances. Speaker Johnson had the chance to swear in during the pro forma session after the election just this last Tuesday. He refused. Today, he has another chance in about an hour and a half, but he is refusing to do it. There will be another pro forma session today. Congresswoman Grijalva should be sworn in today. Today is another chance. Why? Why is he refusing to do it? Because Adelita has pledged that her very first act will be to sign the discharge petition to force a vote on a subpoena for Congress to get the Epstein files so we can release them to the public. That petition is stuck at 217 signatures. She will be the 218th. That number forces leadership to allow an open vote. That's why Arizona is, the voters of Arizona, the people of Arizona, particularly AZ07, are being silenced. So let's be clear. This is not about timing and procedure. This is about power. Southern Arizona remains voiceless during the shutdown because Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, would rather deny Southern Arizona equal representation than to uncover the truth about Epstein. So I call on Speaker Johnson and Republican leadership in Washington to do 3 things now. Seat Adelita Grijalva rightfully as a Congresswoman right now, cancel the cuts, lower costs, reopen the government. Now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Yassamin Ansari, who is fighting incredibly hard for the people of her district and all of Arizona for health care. So we don't deny people their access to health care and to primary care physicians. Congresswoman.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for joining us. Thank you to Congressman Stanton for your leadership and for organizing this press conference today. I'm Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari. I proudly represent Phoenix, Glendale, and Guadalupe in the U.S. House of Representatives. Today is day 3 of the Trump Republican government shutdown, and it is already hurting Arizona families, our economy, and federal workers. Our troops and federal workers go without pay. Agencies can't plan for the future. Services like Head Start and WIC are running and risk running out of allotted funding fast, and families and seniors are left in uncertain limbo. I don't want a government shutdown, but Donald Trump and his enablers in Congress do. And let's be very clear. Donald Trump is the President of the United States. Republicans control the Senate, and Republicans control the House of Representatives. This government shutdown falls squarely on them and their inability to work and be able to continue the Affordable Care Act tax subsidies, to be able to guarantee health care for Americans in this country. And as a result of their recklessness, millions of Americans, as soon as this month, are already getting notifications that their health care premiums are doubling. This is unacceptable. During this time, Donald Trump is already also threatening to carry out mass firings across federal agencies, which is blatantly illegal, and withholding and threatening to withhold guaranteed federal funding to blue states as part of his typical authoritarian political retribution. Now, Congressman Stanton talked a little bit about how we got here, and I just want to emphasize again, the federal government operates on a fiscal year that ends September 30th. If Congress doesn't pass funding bills by that deadline, or at least a short-term extension called a continuing resolution, the government shuts down. And that's what happened. This year, Republicans offered a partisan proposal, one that was not open to negotiation, didn't allow for amendments, and was not a clean extension of current funding levels. Their proposal also failed to extend vital Affordable Care Act tax credit that helps hundreds of thousands of Arizonans afford health insurance. If their bill had passed, many would have lost their coverage entirely. To make matters worse, Republican members of Congress were not even in Washington, D.C. this week to work or to negotiate, and that includes every single Arizona Republican member of Congress that represent this state. Republicans caused the shutdown, and as a result of that, again, Americans are already getting notifications that their health insurance premiums are doubling. A Trump shutdown is horrific for Arizona. It means reduced operations, delayed in processing services, programs like Head Start and WIC at risk of running out of funds, and federal workers going unpaid. Here at Sky Harbor, I want to commend the incredible work of the team here because they have made sure that this airport continues to run smoothly and efficiently for the many passengers who go here every single day. But these are some of the highest stress jobs in the entire country: TSA, air traffic controllers, and folks who already are experiencing significant shortages because of this administration's assault on federal workers are now having to work without pay. Not to mention everyone who keeps Phoenix's biggest economic driver up and running, living with uncertainty, from food service workers, administrative and janitorial staff, baggage handlers, and more. So I want to just take a minute to truly thank every single person who works at this airport, who keeps it running, because you are doing truly heroic work during a time when even the President of the United States is refusing to do so. We don't know how long this shutdown will last. We are fighting relentlessly for health care in this country. The longest shutdown in U.S. history was during Trump's first term in office. It lasted 35 days, and workers today, many who still work at this airport, had to experience that as well. I want to reassure my constituents that my office is open and here to help. Last night we held a teletown hall. Thousands of constituents joined. We heard from teachers who already pay half of their salary on health insurance, terrified about what the lack of extensions on the ACA could mean, heard from seniors concerned about their Social Security, and heard from many about their continued fear about ICE in our communities. We also this morning heard from AFSCME President Jason Henley at an event earlier today, talking about how once TSA and air traffic controllers stop receiving paychecks, flights could be canceled and the effects will trickle down to everyone. Again, I'm deeply thankful to every single federal worker that works so tirelessly to keep our country running. We will keep pushing to protect healthcare and reopen the government. And with that, it is my honor to introduce the mayor of this incredible city, Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego.
Thank you, Congresswoman Ansari. I want to thank Congresswoman Ansari and Congressman Stanton, as well as our United States senators, for their continual advocacy for the health care of the people of Phoenix. As elected leaders, it is our duty to do all we can to protect the health and safety of those we represent, and that is exactly what congressional Democrats are doing. I am proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them in this fight. Right now, Americans are hearing a lot of arguments about why the federal government is currently in a shutdown. What it boils down to is that congressional Democrats are trying to protect Americans' access to health care and keep costs down, and Republicans are stopping them from doing that. That means that over 380,000 Arizonans who benefit from the Affordable Care Act tax credits could see their monthly premiums spike more than 55% next year. Another 109,000 Arizonans could lose their ACA coverage completely. That is in addition to the 360,000 Arizonans who could lose their Medicaid coverage from the bill Republicans passed earlier this year to cut taxes for billionaires. Those are not just numbers. Those are real Arizonans who are losing life-saving coverage. And I see the impact firsthand. At the City of Phoenix, we operate emergency medical service. We want people to get the health care they need to have their health challenges addressed early. We don't want to wait until they get sicker and sicker and need the emergency room. Already, we are building multiple fire stations in the City of Phoenix to make sure that we can get good EMS coverage. But if we have to see people when they are sicker or sicker, it will be more costly, it will be harder, it will tax our healthcare system. Our hospitals tell us today they are stretched thin. We know what will happen if people lose access to health care. They will get sicker, they will get harder to treat, it will become more expensive for all of us. Even if your health care is not at risk here, you're part of a system. Crowded emergency rooms, longer wait times for ambulances impact each and every one of us. We need to make sure we have a strong emergency medical system. Federal reimbursements through insurance, Medicaid, are very important to us in the financial health of our emergency system. We're deeply worried about the impact on our hospital system. We are seeing reduced reimbursements for hospitals from the federal government, and the hospitals will have to make up that financial difference. We will all feel the impact, whether it be training nurses we need to come into the system or the premiums we all pay. Each and every one of us are impacted by these cuts to the healthcare system. I'm so thankful that the members of Congress behind me are fighting to make our healthcare system stronger for all of us. We know what medical debt can do to people. If someone can no longer afford their premiums and they don't pay for insurance, they are at risk of catastrophic financial impacts. We've seen people all the way to homelessness because of medical debt. This is a preventable problem. We need Republicans in Washington to come to the negotiating table. The longer it takes, the harder the impacts will be at the city of Phoenix. Right now, thanks to the commitment of our federal frontline workforce, we are not anticipating many visible impacts to operations at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport over the immediate term. Our incredibly dedicated TSA, air traffic control, and Customs and Border Patrol staff are still coming to show up to work without pay to serve and protect our community. Thanks to them, you can continue to expect uninterrupted essential federal services, such as airport security screenings. Our airport team is in regular contact with federal agencies to provide the necessary support and ensure that any potential operational impacts related to the shutdown are managed. Other airport services, such as concessions and parking, will continue to operate normally. Right now, we're in a busy fall break period. I encourage you to give yourself extra time, arrive early, and check your flight status before coming to the airport. Please be kind to airport staff as they are handling a lot of challenges. We have high passenger volume, and many are working without pay. So we always appreciate a smile and a kind word for the individuals who work at the airport, but it is especially valuable today. I want to thank all of our federal workers for their dedication to keeping our passengers safe and our operations running. As the shutdown continues, I will stay in close contact with our congressional leaders and our incredible team at Sky Harbor to ensure we communicate any operational impacts to the public as needed. And now I am pleased to introduce a representative for these incredible federal workers. We're joined today by Diane Rodriguez, who is the treasurer of Local 1250 of the American Federation of Government Employees. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you for being here and supporting our officers. I'm grateful our federal representatives are working to end the shutdown. Each day continues, thousands of government employees go without pay, including us at TSA. We remain committed to our mission, ensuring the security and safety, even during these difficult circumstances. After nearly 15 years at Phoenix Sky Harbor, I've seen the tolls of the shutdown, and I'm hopeful this ends soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, Congresswoman and Mayor, for your leadership during this challenging time. And I'll open up any questions that you may have for myself or any other speakers.
Your fellow Republican Congressman Juan Ciscomani is foregoing his paycheck during this shutdown. Are either of you following his example and withholding your paychecks while folks like the lady here have to run hers? And if not, why not?
Yeah. So in Congress, we don't get paid until the end of the month. So the first pay that we would receive is at the end of this month. I plan to ask for them to withhold paycheck until the shutdown is done. I think Congresswoman Ansari has already done so. She's already showed real leadership in that regard as well.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the community health centers in my district. One of those is the Wesley Community Health Center. So I have pledged to donate every day of my salary that the shutdown continues to Wesley so that they can continue to operate.
Very strongly against the idea of UAs signing off on that deal to get.
I describe it as a Faustian bargain, that in what what the Trump administration is setting up for the University of Arizona and the other universities that were chosen for this program, where apparently they get advantageous opportunities for federal funding, but they have to give up their academic freedom. And my response, and my direct response to the University of Arizona is reject that deal. Do not sign a Faustian bargain. Whatever short-term financial gain you may get, you give up in terms of the long-term reputation of the university in giving up your say about admissions to the university and academic freedom of the faculty. U of A, and I'll be absolutely clear, U of A needs to say no to that offer. You want to comment on that as well? Please.
Is there any chance or is there any risk of losing funds for infrastructure here in Arizona and Phoenix? Because President Trump told he would draw some funds from New York.
Yeah. So the question was, I'm sorry, is there a chance of us losing funds, particularly infrastructure funds? President Trump and the Trump administration need to understand what's called checks and balances in the United States government. Each branch of government is equal to the other. So when Congress passes appropriations bills, which gives them both the authorization and the resources to spend on infrastructure projects in Arizona and around the country, it is illegal for them to withhold that money. That's not an option for them. If they don't like a project, they should not sign the bill that Congress has passed in a bipartisan way in order to provide those resources. So yes, all of us are well aware of what the Trump administration is trying to do, threaten to withhold resources for important infrastructure projects, apparently as a way to threaten us to not fight for health care as we are, for the American people that we are doing right now. We are not going to fall for it because what the Trump administration is doing is blatantly illegal. Those resources for infrastructure projects, even the clean energy project that was taken away from Arizona that happens to be in Congressman Ciscomani's district, they tried to rip away that project. That was funded by the United States Congress. We voted on it in a bipartisan way, and it is illegal to try to withhold those resources.
The Trump administration is the most corrupt and authoritarian administration in American history, and what the president is threatening to do right now by ripping away funding for projects that, as Congressman Stanton said, are already approved, already authorized by Congress. This is nothing new in what the administration has been doing. They are doing this now in an effort, they're very clearly going after blue states, in some cases purple states, really to try to pressure Senate Democrats to cave. And the truth is, nobody is going to cave. The healthcare fight that we are in right now is so important because people in this country are literally going to die if Republicans and Donald Trump do not come to the table to negotiate the extension of these Affordable Care Act tax credits. So he can break the law, continue to break the law, threaten, go after his political enemies, just like he has done since he was sworn in January of this year. But that's not going to stop the most important fight that we could possibly take up, which is health care for the American people.
By the way, it's another reason why the University of Arizona should say no to this bargain. Research dollars, medical research, trying to fight cancer, and U of A is doing amazing research work, threatening to withhold those dollars that have been approved by Congress in order to get them to sign an agreement so that the Trump administration can decide the admissions policies or the academic freedom policy of the university is not only wrong, and I describe it as a Faustian bargain, but it's illegal as well. Other questions? Yeah. Sure. Look, the American people are speaking. Poll after poll is showing that the American people want us to continue to fight so that millions of people don't have health care taken away from them from the Affordable Care Act, and 22 million Americans don't have their premiums doubled or more. The American people are overwhelmingly, this is so obvious that we should continue to support the Affordable Care Act and not rip health care away from millions and millions of our fellow Americans. So the tragic irony of where we are right now is we're asking the Republicans to come to the table and negotiate something that is in their best interest. It's not just in the best interest of millions of Americans so they can see their primary care physician, engage in preventative medicine, stay out of hospitals, as the mayor and the congresswoman have said. But the tragic irony is it's in their political best interest. You see, the American people are really smart, and they don't like it when Congress rips away health care from them. It's the reason why the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill is so unpopular with the American people, because it rips away health care from more than 10 million of our fellow Americans in the form of getting them off of the Medicaid program. People want to provide health care for their fellow Americans. They want their fellow Americans to be able to see a primary care physician. So the tragic irony is what we're asking them to do is not only the right thing for the American people, but is certainly in their political best interest as well. Because if they continue to not negotiate with us and people continue to get their premium notices and their doubles and triples, and millions of Americans have to make the decision they can't afford health care anymore because of that, they're going to pay a steep political price. So they should do the right thing, come to the table, let's negotiate what is obviously in the best interest of the American people, and let's get this shutdown over.
Last question?
One more. Okay. Okay. Dan, if you want to talk about that, but the question was, you couldn't hear it, was how long can TSA employees who are doing incredibly important work continue to work where their pay will be? Now, you know, when we get this shutdown over, obviously people will be getting their paychecks, but in the meantime, it is incredibly difficult, and we owe our TSA agents and our air traffic controllers a massive debt of gratitude for what they're doing to keep the aviation system going safely and efficiently for the American public. Obviously, it's up to each individual person, the amount of pressure that puts on them, but there is obviously an incredible amount of pressure. We saw it in the last shutdown. If you remember, the last shutdown in 2018-19 did end in which it did affect the air traffic control system to the point that the flights were delayed so significantly, and our economy is so based upon the efficient operation of our aviation system, and that was probably the element that brought that shutdown to a halt. I don't know if you have anything to say about the pressure on the TSA, the folks that you represent, working without pay.
As it continues, it does take a toll on all the officers, not only at work, but also just their personal livelihood. Since I've been here, I experienced the one for 35 days, and it does affect everyone, where now you have to decide, is it for gas or is it for work? So now it minimizes how many people we do have, and it does affect attendance.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And as the mayor said, she'll provide ongoing updates in terms of operations here at Sky Harbor, and Congressman Ansari and I will continue to provide updates on, at least from our perspective, the status of these negotiations. This could end today if we would. All we're asking for is that we protect Americans' health care and we keep the government operating. That is our position, and we're sticking with it. It's incredibly important to protect the health care of the American people. Thank you, everybody.